Welcome to the Non-Negotiable Living podcast, where we're building lives by design by creating non-negotiable habits around fitness, family, faith, and financial freedom.
Today, we're tackling an important topic that affects many women's ability to lose fat, and it's hormonal imbalance. So if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, but still struggling with fat loss, or if you're battling unexpected weight gain, this episode is for you. So we're going to explore how hormonal imbalances can impact your fat loss efforts and what you can do about it. Let's start by understanding how hormonal imbalance impacts fat loss, and let's get a clear picture of what hormonal imbalance actually means. Hormonal imbalance is being thrown around a lot these days, and people are starting to lean on that as the reason why they're not losing weight. And as women, it really does affect us. And especially as we get into perimenopause and menopause, there's a lot of things that change in our bodies that impact our weight, our ability to lose weight. So let's dive into what this is. Hormones are chemical messengers in our body, and they regulate various functions, including our metabolism, our appetite, and our fat storage. So when these hormones are out of balance, it can disrupt these processes and make fat loss even more challenging. So hormonal imbalance occurs when there's an excess or a deficiency in our hormone levels. And these imbalances can lead to various symptoms and health issues, including weight gain and difficulty losing fat. Hormones like insulin, cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, and thyroid hormones play critical roles in regulating our body's processes and how we store fat and how we metabolize things. So let's dive into some of the key hormones and how their balance or imbalance can affect our fat loss journey. So insulin is a hormone that helps regulate our blood sugar levels. So you'll hear people say it a lot. I'm insulin resistant. I'm insulin resistant. Now, I tend to believe that this term is thrown around too much, and it's a default for people who are struggling to lose weight, but insulin does really affect our weight. So when insulin levels are too high, often due to chronic stress, a diet that's high in refined sugars and carbs, your body may store more fat, particularly around the belly. And chronic high insulin levels can lead to insulin resistance, like truly insulin resistance, and making it harder for your body to use glucose effectively. Cortisol is also something that's being thrown around in society a lot these days, and it really does impact our fat loss efforts. So this is known as our stress hormone, and cortisol can significantly impact fat storage, especially fat around the abdominal area. So when you see people who have the distended round bellies, oftentimes that's what we call cortisol belly, or just high stress building up that fat around the abdomen. High cortisol levels can often result from chronic stress and can lead to increased appetite and cravings for high-calorie foods. But when we talk about cortisol, there's a couple ways that we can spike our cortisol. It's not just stress from work or family life or financial situations. You can actually put unnecessary stress on your body by not sleeping enough, by consuming too much caffeine, by consuming the wrong foods or the wrong balance of foods. So some people can increase their cortisol by not giving themselves enough proteins or enough fats to balance their hormones. Also, just not managing stress well. So if you're go, go, go all the time and you never let your body reset, relax, get focused, get quiet, then your cortisol is going to be higher. So there's a lot of things that we can do to mitigate cortisol. Estrogen and progesterone in women play crucial roles in regulating our menstrual cycle and maintaining reproductive health. But imbalances in these hormones can lead to weight gain and difficulty losing fat. So for example, elevated estrogen levels can lead to increased fat storage, while low progesterone levels can impair the body's ability to burn fat efficiently. And as we go into perimenopause and menopause, the impacts of that become really apparent because we have no control over them. The hormones start changing naturally. That's when a lot of women, as they get into their mid-30s or early 40s, they start to notice the weight just creeping on, even though they're doing the same exercise routine, they're eating healthy. And that's really when the approach needs to change to our eating and our workouts to make sure that we are approaching them in a way that is supporting the fact that we're going through those hormonal changes. Thyroid hormones regulate our metabolism. So an underactive thyroid or hypothyroidism can slow down our metabolism, making it harder to lose weight. So some symptoms of thyroid imbalance can include fatigue, weight gain, and difficulty losing weight despite proper diet and exercise. So oftentimes if somebody has a true thyroid issue, they will have tried everything, all the diets, all the exercises, all the things, and had no luck losing weight. Now, with people who have thyroid imbalances, it really just take a particular approach. I've coached many people who have had thyroid issues, and it's absolutely possible for them to lose weight. We just have to be specific about how we approach it. So how do we know if we might have hormonal imbalances that are affecting our fat loss? Here's a couple signs that you can look for. So if you have persistent weight gain, difficulty losing weight, or unexpected weight gain, especially around the abdomen, like you've been exercising, you're walking the same, you're still eating the same, but the scale just continues to move up, then that could be a sign of hormonal imbalance and also perimenopause and menopause coming on if you're in your mid-30s to 40s. Now, people ask me all the time, what age do you go through menopause? There is no science behind that. There is no set number. So we have to be cognizant of the fact that you can be 37 and in full-blown menopause, and if you go to your doctor, you might have a doctor that's like, you're too young for that, and that's a bunch of BS. Your body changes at different rates than anybody else's, and the medical institution should not judge where you're at in the process of your aging compared to somebody else and your hormones without doing proper testing or, digging a little bit deeper. Your age should not dictate whether or not they say yes, you are or are not dealing with hormonal imbalances due to perimenopause and menopause. Now, another sign to look for is increased cravings. So if you're craving sugary, high-carb foods, it could be linked to insulin and cortisol imbalances. Now, what you'll also notice is even if you don't have hormonal imbalances, the reason people throw insulin resistance around is because if they eat high-carb, high-sugary foods, they get that energy spike, the crash, the fatigue, and then they crave carbs again. That's normal. That happens to everybody. Carbs don't have like an off switch in our body. So when we eat carbs, we often overeat them. And then we do get that short-term energy spike and drop that leads to us being hungry again and feeling lethargic and tired, which leads to fatigue. So fatigue is the feeling of being sluggish or just tired, not having energy. And it could be linked to inadequate sleep, but it could also be linked to hormonal imbalances. So if you're not getting enough of the right foods in, if you're not fueling your body the right way, if you're in a drastic calorie deficit constantly and you're spiking your cortisol, you're going to deal with fatigue. There's a lot that comes with it. And if you're exercising consistently and not eating enough, you're going to feel fatigued. So it all just comes down to balance. Irregular menstrual cycles or severe PMS symptoms also indicate potential estrogen and progesterone imbalances. Oftentimes, as women get closer to perimenopause and menopause, their cycles will start to change, whether it's they have a heavier flow or a shorter period, or maybe their period's longer. And there's no set rhyme or reason to what way it's going to present itself. And that's why you have to be cognizant of your cycle and what adjustments are coming to it and what you're seeing change. So I personally was on birth control for the last 16 or so years. And once we decided we weren't having kids again, my husband got snipped. I got off birth control finally because I thought it was good for my body to kind of go back to homeostasis, and also so I could be aware of those signs of my body changing, because previously I had an IUD, so I didn't have periods. So I had no idea if my body was going through any sort of cycle changes. So now that I'm 34, I know that those symptoms and those changes are going to start to come on. So I wanted to kind of level set my body so I could be prepared and aware of when those changes start to occur. Now, mood swings frequently or high levels of stress can often be tied to high cortisol levels. So it's one of those, which came first? Are you having the mood swings because you're just a moody person and it's increasing your cortisol? Or is increased cortisol possibly causing the mood swings? So that's just something to be cognizant of. So if you're having mood swings that weren't typical previously, that's something to look at. So if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, it might be worth consulting your healthcare provider, who can assess your hormone levels through blood tests or saliva tests to determine if there is an imbalance that needs addressing. Obviously, we live in a day and an age where people can get hormone replacement therapies that can really help with the symptoms, and that is all a personal preference. There is also some more natural homeopathic ways that you can kind of address these things and try to fix them. So just know that I am not a professional who can tell you, yes, your hormones are off. What I can say is, for the women that I coach, I can often identify people who are struggling with certain symptoms or losing weight more slowly, and we can identify those things and try to set the approach to exercise and nutrition around what they may be struggling with. And oftentimes it works. That's the one thing to acknowledge, is a lot of your hormones can be naturally balanced through diet and exercise. And if you're in perimenopause and menopause, a lot of the symptoms can be mitigated by having proper diet and exercise and just a healthy approach to life. So oftentimes the people who come to work with me will say, I have sugar cravings, I'm fatigued, I don't feel good, I'm bloated all the time, my belly's distended. And a lot of those symptoms go away as we get them on the right program and doing the right things for their bodies. So if you're struggling with these symptoms, if you're trying to lose weight and it's not proving to be successful, reach out to me, because coaching women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s is the majority of the women I coach, and they're all getting great success because everything we do is backed by science. But now that we've identified some common hormonal imbalances, let's discuss how to address them. So managing hormonal imbalance involves a multifaceted approach that includes diet, stress management, exercise, and sleep. So the first one is diet. So we need balanced nutrition. So we want to focus on a diet rich in whole foods, lean proteins, healthy fats, and fiber. Fiber is huge. So this helps regulate insulin levels and supports overall hormonal balance. We went through a lot of years in history of people saying carbs are bad for you, fats are bad for you, focus on protein only, eat keto. And the problem with that is all of the macros are important. We need fats, we need protein, and we need carbs. Carbs are our body's natural energy source. So if you're low energy and eating no carbs, well, obviously, eat carbs. They're not the enemy. Also, this whole low fat craze is just ridiculous. Fats are what help regulate our hormones. So we have to have good, healthy fats in our diets to have hormonal balance. So don't avoid fats. They aren't the enemy. Protein is key to everything. Muscle growth, feeling good, slowing our digestion, feeling full longer. So protein is obviously I feel like the one macro nobody's ever said oh, that's bad for you. But most people still don't get enough protein in. So we have to focus on all three macros with balance, not in a crazy deficit. We can't be eating 1,200 calories a day because that's not sustainable. It's not good for you. A 12-year-old girl shouldn't even be eating that little. So if you're on a crazy low calorie diet, you're doing your body a disservice and you're probably slowing your progress down. Another thing is cutting down on refined sugars and processed foods can help manage your insulin levels and prevent true insulin resistance. And again, it'll prevent those spikes and drops that create that fatigue and that vicious cycle of wanting to eat more when you don't necessarily need to. And incorporating healthy fats like avocados, nuts, seeds, fatty fish can also help support hormone production and balance. Now, stress management is a big one when we talk about cortisol. So incorporating stress-reducing practices such as meditation, deep breathing, regular physical activity, and also just unwinding at the end of the day can be huge in managing stress and is crucial for keeping your cortisol levels in check. Now, my favorite, exercise. So strength training can help balance hormones and support fat loss, obviously. So building muscle improves our insulin sensitivity. It increases our metabolism. Our metabolism is basically built up by our muscle mass in our body and our ability to burn extra calories. So between strength training and cardiovascular exercise, both are imperative, but cardiovascular exercise supports your overall heart health and can help regulate cortisol levels. Now, when we're talking about cardiovascular exercise, that could even be walking every day, which I encourage everybody to walk 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day, just because it helps increase your calorie burn, it helps your body move, it decreases your risk of a lot of diseases, and lowers your risk of premature death. So incorporating a good strength training and cardiovascular program into your life is going to be key. Now, for me, I exercise 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. That includes 4 days of lifting, 1 day of cardio. For some of my clients, I have them on a 3-day lifting, 2-day cardio schedule. It's all personal preference and based on goals and somebody's experience with exercise and what they like doing. So each program that I create for my clients is all custom designed for them, their goals, where they're at, what they enjoy. But I highly recommend at least 5 days a week of exercise for at least 30 minutes. And that's also what's recommended by the National Institute of Health and the Center for Disease Control. So it doesn't have to be a lot of exercise, but it needs to be consistent. And daily walking is always beneficial. Now, sleep. We have to prioritize our sleep quality. And if we aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night, it helps support our hormone regulation, it helps manage stress, it promotes overall health. So we need a consistent sleep schedule is one of the biggest things. If you can maintain a consistent sleep schedule, it regulates your body's internal clock and it helps support hormonal balance. I recommend things like white noise, if it's bright in your room, using an eye mask, not being on your phone and watching TV right before you go to sleep, Winding down, maybe doing like stretching, drinking some tea, reading a book, things that kind of calm your mind and get you in that calm state. And also there's a lot of like nighttime meditations that you can do that can help you get to sleep. But definitely prioritize a set bedtime. That way you can get your body in that groove. Again, like I said before, a lot of our daily activities can help balance our hormones naturally. Proper diet, exercise, sleep, stress management, all of these things can impact your hormones and balance them naturally, which is what I say with a lot of my clients. But if you feel like your hormones are completely out of whack, I would recommend consulting a professional. Work with somebody who's a specialist who can do the proper testing to see where you're at and what imbalances exist. And remember that you don't have to go down the route of hormone replacement therapy necessarily, but knowing where your body's at and what struggles it's having is going to help you better address them and try to fix them. So keep in mind, hormonal imbalances can significantly impact your ability to lose fat and achieve your health goals. And by understanding how different hormones affect your body and taking steps to address imbalances, you can improve your chances of success. So remember, achieving sustainable health and fitness is about more than just diet and exercise. It's also about understanding and addressing the underlying factors that can affect your progress. Thanks for tuning in to Non-Negotiable Living. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with friends who might find the information beneficial. And I'll catch you next time with more insights and tips to live your happiest, healthiest life. In the meantime, keep creating non-negotiable habits and showing up for yourself. You guys got this.